Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today we're going to be looking at 9 lovely Mario games that we just outright wish didn't exist. Mario's been in an awful lot of absolutely wonderful games, but he's also been in his fair share of stinkers. Not all of them have been made by Nintendo, and in fact, most of the ones on this list haven't. But we're not just looking at the worst Mario games, because that's a little bit too easy, but rather games we wish didn't exist for one reason or another, although it's amazing how often those two lists collide. But anyway, enough waffling, let's dive right into things.
I hope she made lots of spaghetti. Luigi, look! It's from Bowser.
Hotel Mario. This is probably the easiest one to include on the list, and one that you've no doubt heard of before. Hotel Mario was made for the Philips CDI and was never released on any other platform, and that's probably because it's absolutely horrible. The gameplay basically revolves around going through doors in various hotels. But it's not the gameplay that everyone's interested in, it's the horrible animations. This is a bit of a theme for this list, so keep your eyes peeled. The animations in this game are legendarily awful. They've been featured in thousands, probably even millions of YouTube videos over the years, because they are just so utterly incompetent. The voice acting for Mario isn't that bad, but just the lines of dialogue and the overall presentation is god-awful. You won't be surprised to hear that Nintendo had literally zero involvement in this one.
Looks at the seating when Koopas are involved.
Mario Teaches Typing 2 is one of the ugliest games I've ever seen.
Well, I'm just editing this and I've realised I've gone and recorded footage from Mario Teaches Typing 1 and I've not been able to get Mario Teaches Typing 2 working at all. So, pretend it's the second one.
The audio is awful, Mario has basically no presence in the game whatsoever, it's just a very average typing game designed for children. At least it would be that if it weren't for one extra inclusion. Brace yourself. Just close your eyes and listen to this for a minute. Just listen to Charles Martinet's performance.
Hey, that was pretty good. Let's see if we can go even faster next lesson, eh?
It's early, it's a little bit rough, it sounds like he's just riffing into a microphone, but it's charming and it's well delivered. It's Charles Martinet, you can't really go wrong. And then you open your eyes.
A good joke for Mario?
In case you can't tell, this is face tracking from Charles Martinet himself, and it's very early and astoundingly ugly. For the time, this was probably really impressive, but I think even back then, any child playing this game would be hideously scarred. It's horrifying. The way that his lips kind of don't quite match up with everything else, just, oh my god, it's just horrible. They even play on the fact that he's a disembodied head in some of the dialogue, and that just makes it even creepier that for some reason Mario, as just a head, is able to be sustained.
I ain't got nobody. Get it? Nobody?
It just doesn't work, it's horrible, and I want it to die. Believe it or not, Mario is Missing is the very first instance of a game where Luigi is the main character. Luigi's Mansion can go to hell, this is the real business. Unsurprisingly, your main task is to find Mario because he is missing. In order to do so, you've got to run around and answer quiz questions. Yeah, this is another educational game, and I can understand that educational games by their nature need to be fairly forgiving because the audience is very young. But there is basically no punishment or any repercussions for getting a question wrong, so you can just keep guessing until you get the answer right. And children don't care enough to remember what the actual correct answer was. It's clear that the developers made this game and then shoehorned Mario into it in order to try and get a few more sales. It's shameless, incredibly dull, very little educational value, and overall just feels like a complete waste of everyone's time. Oh my god, you might actually be able to call this one a game! Yes, as I'm sure you know, before Super Mario Bros, there was just Mario Bros, and it was kind of an arcade game where you had to flip turtles and crabs over and kick them in the face. It was good times. However, the version released for the Atari 2600 has to be one of the worst ports ever devised ever. The controls are awful, the graphics are beyond terrible, and what's more, even though the game looks so simple, it runs like a complete turd. If you played the arcade version as a kid, and you finally managed to get your hands on a home console version for your Atari 2600, you'd be amazed. You'd think, yes, I can finally play, I don't need to spend additional money, I just jam it in and play to my heart's content. Can you imagine the disappointment? This goes beyond lazy, this is proto-lazy. There are no redeeming qualities about this version, and if you had an Atari 2600, chances are you didn't have another console to play on. So you were stuck with this. I genuinely recommend that you go out and try and play this version of the game, because it's a perfect laundry list of how not to make a video game, let alone a video game that's already been well established. I love Mario Party. Genuinely, I think it's a really good shortcut to friendlessness. But Mario Party 9 is pretty much the moment that everything went wrong for the series. Some of the GameCube entries that came before it still weren't that brilliant, but 9 is where things really took a turn for the worst. You've played board games before, haven't you? You know that when it's your turn, you roll a dice and you move your character or your token around a board. Yeah? Well, Mario Party 9 does away with all of that, and instead, you all move in one vehicle. The only logic I can see behind this is they looked at the older Mario Party games and thought, well, we need to change it because we don't want people just hanging around waiting for their turn, so let's make everyone move together. However, even though you're moving together, you're still waiting for your turn. The best part about Mario Party is the mini-games, and the board game sections tie it all together, but this gets both elements so totally wrong. The mini-games aren't even fun. They're some of the most boring, predictable motion controls waggle games you can possibly imagine. I'm all for new ideas in video games. I think that really needs to be encouraged so we don't just get the same thing over and over again. But when something like this doesn't work, don't put it in the sequel. That's right, Mario Party 10 has exactly the same problems. Nobody I have ever spoken to thinks the car was a good idea or improved the gameplay at all. It watered it down. It made everything you do feel basically meaningless, and it just became a whole random thing with no sense of individuality. Mario Party 9 can die in a fire. Do you know what I love? Edutainment games for DOS. Actually, I'm being kind of honest, I do actually kind of love these games for how stupid they are. This was a series of DOS-based games for, funnily enough, early years preschool people. Or children, as they're sometimes called. The games are painfully simple, even for young children. They basically involved listening for a prompt and clicking on an item, and that's it. Or, if you like, you can listen to a story about a pig. Yep.
The pig is wet.
I understand this seems like an easy target, and you'd be right, it is. But when it's this bad and this simple, there's just no redeeming qualities at all. The characters seem to be thrown in with no understanding of what the characters are or how they should speak.
Good choice.
Cheers, Bowser! It's Mario is missing, but you're playing as Mario, so he's not missing. Alright, in truth, the gameplay is not entirely like Mario is missing, but it's completely and utterly horrible. Mario is Missing is kind of difficult to understand, but this is an entirely new level. This game is so obtuse, I literally had no idea what I was supposed to do. I'm a 26-year-old man who basically plays games for a living, and if I can't work out what the bloody hell I'm supposed to do, how is a child supposed to? This game is insane, it's infuriating, it's just entirely impossible for a child to understand. It has no right to exist, and what's more, it was released on multiple platforms and Nintendo greenlit it. It's terrible. Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. This is probably the least amount of effort Nintendo has ever put into a Mario game. When I first started playing it, I thought, okay, this is alright, you know, it's pretty good. The mechanics seem very solid, the gameplay's well refined. I like the tennis, it's good fun. And then I tried to find the other 80% of the game. and there wasn't any. There is so little content in here, it is genuinely embarrassing. If they'd released it on the eShop for 10 quid, 15 quid, maybe even 20 quid, then I would have gone, okay, fine, whatever, it's just a nice little side project. But no, this game was released for full retail price. Unbelievable. There's nothing else to say because there's nothing else to talk about. There is nothing. This game is nothing. It's nothing. Whoa there! Hold your horses. Don't click off the video just yet. Yes, this sounds a little bit mad and this sounds a little bit like we're ragging on a very good game because this is a very good game. So why is it here? Super Mario Bros. 2 as it was originally released, or Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels as we got it here in the West, is very much a ROM hack of the original Mario Bros. But if you ever actually try to play this game, it's fun, I have a good time with it, but there is no way I can ever possibly beat this thing. It was so hard Nintendo of America said, no one's gonna buy this because it's too difficult. Reskin Doki Doki Panic and then we'll talk. When we finally got it over here in the West in Super Mario All-Stars, do you know what they had to do to make it even vaguely possible? Every time you run out of lives, instead of continuing at the very start of the game, it's just the start of the world. Because it's that hard. We wish this game never existed, not because it's terrible, or because it has terrible controls, or because it's just outright an awful game, but because it exists. And we can't beat it. We're professionals, damn it, and we can't beat this bloody game. It's been taunting us for years and years and years. Honestly, I don't know anyone who's actually beaten it. My brother says he has, but I don't believe him. One day I will beat this game, I promise you, and I'll do it without using save states or anything like that. I'll do it properly. But it is not that day. And it won't be for a very, very long time. Oh, well, there you have it. Those are 9 Mario games we wish never existed, and we could just outright forget. What are the Mario games you wish never existed? Let us know by leaving a comment down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you forget that subscribe button ever existed and click it again. Unless you're already subscribed, because then you'll unsubscribe. And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.